when he wants to promote his political career, he goes tribal. So to that extent, this crop of politicians is cultivating divisions in the country. And like you are seeing with the far right in Europe today, they have a following. There are people that believe in them. And that is a danger. So I think it was important that HH should emphasize on unity, because unless we are united, we can't develop this country. Yeah.
Okay. So what were your, as we end, we're about to finish our conversation regarding the president's speech on Friday, what were your expectations before that? What is it exactly that you wanted to hear the president heavily touch on? Well, did you have any expectations?
Look, the energy issue is important. And here is why it is important. The energy issue is important because unlike what the UPND believes in about this economy, that what is going to turn around this economy is the mining sector. We believe in EF that in fact this economy is anchored on the informal sector. Okay? The small-scale welders in Kalingalinga here, next to where we are, in Baulen, in Chibolia, and other cities. The women that get up at 4 a.m. to go and order their merchandise, their vegetables, and everything else. The young men, the youths that are coming up now, they fix your, they fix your mobile phone and my mobile phone. The men and women that run salons and barber shops, those are the bedrock of this economy. And they are the ones that are most hit by the energy crisis. You've never heard of the mines complain that they don't have power, because they do.
So how would you help this sector as the EFF?
That's I'm saying, you asked me the question what they should have the president should have addressed this and segment it, separate the mining industry, and then say this is how we are going to deal with the energy supply as it affects the informal sector. Okay, there is something which is circulating. I don't know if you have seen it, saying that ZESCO is exporting power to 8 countries, and the source of that is purportedly the World Bank. Well, that's not true. I verified the information with ZESCO before I came here, and it is not true. And yet, on social media, they're purporting that the source of that information is the World Bank. And yet it is just propaganda, which is mostly unfair. Can't we do politics of facts? I know that populism is part of politics. But populism that creates disorder is not politics. I worked with a populist politician myself in the name of Michael Sad. But he was reasonable in his populism. So you don't go and post something on social media and purportedly quote another institution when the information is not true or it doesn't come from that. So I think the point I'm making is that the UPND government must design a program. How does it supply power to the informal sector, the small-scale business people that are crying today? I think that is where the issue is.
Now, you have also expressed concern about the UPND's economic policies, stating that they may lead to losing elections in 2026 if not adjusted. Your comment on this?
Yes, I'm just stating a fact, because voters all over the world look at their economic well-being, whether to retain the government which is in power or to change a government. Okay? And so far, just the example that we've been discussing, that I was highlighting, if the energy sector, to the extent that it affects the informal sector, is not resolved, that may be a problem for the UPND next year. And I think they know, not that I'm saying something new.
Do you feel the UPND, this administration, has had enough time to resolve these challenges that we're faced with, as a country?
It takes a long time. That's a good question. It takes a long time to resolve these problems, most of which have a historical or background to them. It takes a long time. Okay? And the mistake that UPND made, the mistake that HH made in 2020, 2021 as he was campaigning, is to say that we can fix this immediately. Okay? When the MMD was taking over power in 1991 from UNIP, Chiluba made it clear to the Zambian people that, look, we are taking over an economy which is that we are camping at the State House, for lack of a better phrase, and wanted their money paid, and paid like yesterday, we're going to cause problems for us and exacerbate the already economic problems that we had. So they bent backwards and engaged the IMF and helped the IMF, to engage the creditors. And they managed, to restructure. I was reading, I think it was the World Bank source 2 days ago in the Zambia Daily Mail, which says 95% of Zambia's debt has been restructured. So I think that is a plus, because PF had failed to do that. Because nobody amongst the creditors had the confidence and faith in the PF. So I think that is a score for them.
Now, you have previously suggested that President Hichilema should resign due to his administration's failures. Has your stance on this changed?
I've never said that.
You've never said that?
I've never said that. I don't know where you are quoting that from. I'm a very sober-minded person. I only state facts. Okay? I can't say that about HH if I didn't say it about ECL. Okay? So
to those,
don't put words in my mouth.
And for those who would call for his resignation, what would your reaction be?
That's their opinion. That's their opinion. I would not even quarrel with them. But the point I'm making is that I don't practice personalized politics. The problem for me is not HH. The problem during PF time was not ECL. I understand where the problem lies. The problem lies fundamentally in the structure of this economy. How I wish ECL had understood it in a proper context. How I wish HH would understand it in a proper context. That's where my problem is, not individuals. We removed Kaunda. Did we change this country for anything better? The answer is no. Okay? So the removal of individuals is not what will bring about the solution to this country. So when you want to concentrate on an individual, which is the politics that we've been running from 1991. The MMD ran with the campaign that what was wrong about this country was, and Kaunda was removed. We got into a worse situation. There was massive unemployment in this country, and we have never recovered from that. Haven't we learned a lesson? So my approach to this problem, hope, is to discuss fundamental issues, not individuals.
Now let's take a look at the cost of living right now. Many Zambians are struggling with the high cost of living. So, as a party, what practical alternatives would your party offer to ease this burden? I know I mean, if we have to talk about the cost of living right now, we need to factor in the energy crisis that we're going through as a country right now. So, what alternatives would you have as a party to ease this burden?
Firstly, we believe that energy for the poor people must be subsidized. Okay? There is no reason why the mines should be getting energy at next to nothing and the Zambians should bear the brunt of high energy tariffs. There's no logic in that. There is no rationale for that position. Okay? Secondly, there must be practical steps for empowering this. The president was at that artisanal or mining conference this last week. Okay? And he was saying, stop mining illegally. Go and get licenses. That is fine. But he should have gone beyond that. What do I do with the license when I get it? What do I do with a mining area which you have given me, what do I do with it if I don't have capital? What I need is a license. What I need is a mining area. And over and above that, what I need is capital. Ndalama. Okay? To go and buy the machinery that I need to mine. Our position is that the government should now go beyond and set up a bank for small-scale miners where they can go and borrow money. If not cash, but machinery. Otherwise, a license on its own, I'll tell you what it will do. I've acted for Zambians that have been given mining licenses and mining areas, and they have ended up selling the area to foreigners because they don't have capital. I remember one family coming to my office with a Chinese national that they wanted to sell their mining area to this man. And I spoke to them in the vernacular. I said, why don't you just ask this man to get into partnership with you? At Nakana. Nakana. Because the foreigners know that you can have a license. If you're just going to have it and your area and you don't have capital, it's meaningless. And the Zambians know that if I'm going to be in that position, it's meaningless. So what do? I sell to the foreigner. So the same foreigners that the government is trying to make to save the Zambians from, so to say, are the ones that end up getting those mining areas, but using a license of a Zambian. So they need capital. That's what they need. Okay? So even those that are doing small businesses, these welders, in Kalingalinga, I keep on referring to Kalingalinga because we're next door here. That's what they need. That's what they need. Some of them are in manufacturing. You know what makes their pieces of furniture look poor to you and me and opt for South African, it's the equipment that they use, the technology which they use. Otherwise, they have the skill. They don't have the capital. And that capital, government must help the people.
So you're saying as a party you would heavily invest in this sector?
Yes. We would invest in a sector for small-scale miners. We must have a bank there. We must have a bank for small-scale farmers. There must be a bank there. There must be a bank for small-scale business people that cannot walk into these foreign-owned banks and get capital. They must be assisted. And I can tell you that if you did that, you can boost this economy. And I've read books about political economy all over the world. And it has been done.
All right, in case you're just joining us, this is Tuesday's edition of the Hot Sit, and our guest this morning is Economic Front President Wynter Kabimba. We'll be opening up the phone lines top of the hour. That is at 10 if you have any questions or contributions to make. Otherwise, we're also live on Kwitu FM, which is 93.3, as well as Kanele FM, which is 97.7 in Lundazi. Let's not talk about the load shedding, the energy crisis we're going through right now. And I know we have to point at the drought which we experienced as a country. How do you feel government has handled this situation, this crisis?
Which one now?
The power crisis.
Oh, we are going back to the same
Yes.
energy issue. Okay. Look.
I mean, you're just touching on this sector, the SME sector, and just explaining how, as a party, you would help this sector. But we cannot ignore the fact that this is what this sector, this is what has crippled this sector right now, away from the capital that you touched on. There's this power crisis that we're faced with as a country.
Yes.
So with the interventions that government has made so far, do you think this has been adequate? And as a party, how would you help?
Well, the government has been talking about diversifying power sources. Okay? HH has been saying a number of times, and he has met a number of Chinese investors at State House, pledging to invest in the energy sector using solar, windmills, etc., etc. The problem is you have an immediate problem now, which is affecting the economy, and then you have investors that are talking about short-term, medium-term, and long-term investment programs. Okay? The fact of the matter is that ZESCO, as at now, does not have the capacity to meet the power demands of the people. And this, again, I want to emphasize, is historical. There are two areas in which UNIP didn't invest much, and even MMD didn't invest much. It was in the area of mining and the area of energy. And we are exponentially over the years, from 1991, for example, or from 1980. You can even go back as far back as that. Vis-a-vis the capacity by ZESCO to supply energy to this growing population. And the two look like they are conflicting, and yet they're supposed to be reconcilable. Like years, they will tell you. In the next 10 years, they will tell you. Okay? We do not have much of forward planning here. You have all these mushrooming informal settlements around. You have all these mushrooming businesses through the efforts of Zambians that require energy, but we do not have the forward planning to determine how much energy these entities enterprises will need in the next 6 months, 1 year, or 10 years. So I'm an advocate of investment in research. When I was at the Lusaka City Council, I set up a small research unit, which was financed by the Irish Embassy then, which they just disbanded when I left. Like, this man is gone, he was just dreaming, this is not important. But you must have data. So ZESCO must have a research unit. Maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance, they have. But they must have a research, they must invest in research to figure out how much power ZESCO will need to supply to the population or to enterprises in the next 1 year, in the next 5 years, in the next 20 years. Doesn't matter even if the administration which is there today is not there in 20 years. And you see this even at the national level. There's no forward planning. The statistics sometimes are scanty. Okay? So you can't do without research. You have to invest in research. I remember what one African American told me when I was in Washington, D.C. for a meeting. And this is what he said to me. He said, these guys here are not more intelligent than you guys in Africa. The difference is that they invest money in research. Here we are still vested in superstition. That if you get a piece of my jacket and you took it, to Luapula or wherever, I can actually fall sick here. And we take that as a serious issue. I take that as a serious issue. We take it as a serious issue. I was surprised to hear the president say, oh no, I don't believe in witchcraft, you know, that when ECO's body comes here, I can use it, you know, for, oh my God, that, you know, that superstition used to be in Europe in the 1600s. Not now. That the whole
this conversation right now, because we know what we're faced with as a country right now. We still haven't put him to rest, and you've obviously followed up on what has transpired. How would you have handled this issue if you were in State House, the burial of former President ECO?
How would I have handled it? Firstly, I would have personally spoken to the family. Personally. As president, I wouldn't have sent envoys. I would have spoken to the family personally, and I think I would have lost nothing. Secondly, if I were to send envoys, I would look for people that are close. Those are the people that I would have sent as my envoys. I would not have sent people that are strangers to the family. And I think if that approach had been taken, we would not be in this situation.
I know my question was on one side, how would you handle it if you were in State House? But
They are reacting to a situation. Their view is that ECO declared that he was coming back to politics. And the consequence of that pronouncement from him under the existing law is that the government must stop paying his benefits. Okay? Get out of this. In America in 1692.
But one of their main demands is that, well, the wishes of the late were that he the current president should not attend his burial.
That's not correct. I've said that many times.
Well, but it's coming from the family.
There's no way ECO would have said that. That's a lie.
Yeah, but if it's coming from the family, how do you argue with it when the person who was close to him stated that those were the wishes of the partner?
In fact, if you speak to the family, they're even divided. That's not even the correct position. If you speak, there are people that say, I didn't hear him say that. Okay? That's the problem that is there within the family. Okay, but that's not even. That's not even. Hope. That's not even really. What it has boiled about, and families. You have tensions rising in the family. I didn't think that it could escalate to this level. I didn't think so.
So how would you love to see it end?
I'm hoping that the state and the family would reconcile and realize that there is a former head of state who must be put to rest, and put to rest by both the family, members of the family, and those of us who are members of the public and are grieving about the passing of ECL. We all are stakeholders. I believe that the family would be unfair to me as a citizen who was a friend to ECL, and others that believed in ECL for one reason or another, if we do not participate or attend his burial here, his burial, because he's being buried in South Africa and not in Zambia. If he's buried in Zambia, even if I don't go there, I know that it will be on TV, so I can sit in my house and watch the proceedings and see the man get buried in the country of his origin. That would be my wish. But who am I?
Okay. All right, away from that, let's now focus on the general elections 2026.
Yeah.
Do you believe there's sufficient political space for opposition parties to operate freely and just organize ahead of 2026? And maybe just tell us how you are, preparing for that as the economic front as well.
Well, I said that for us as EF, our job is to continue mobilizing, to disseminate this message as I'm doing to our members and those that are not EF members today, but that may subscribe to the ideals of our party. And that's why I'm here.
And you can say, as a party, you are operating freely?
I've never been harassed by anybody. I've never been harassed by anybody. I've never, also insulted anybody. I don't think that to be in the opposition is to insult another fellow in the opposition, is to vilify another fellow in the opposition, is to demean another fellow in the opposition. I also do not believe that to be in the opposition means I must insult those that are on the opposite side of the aisle. I don't believe in tribalism. I've worked with people that are not my kith and kin, that are not my tribal, but affiliated colleagues. I went to a secondary school where I was the only one that came from Mumbo district that year. So I didn't have a friend, and I was therefore obliged to make friends. As a social animal, as a human being, I had to make friends across the ethnic diversity that was at Kafue Secondary School. So I've never believed in this thing called tribalism. I've never believed that you are a good person or a bad person on account of your tribe. Okay?
So what do you have to say to those that feel under this government the opposition has not been given enough room to thrive?
Look, that is their opinion. I don't want to argue with people's opinions. All that I can say is, can't we change the direction of our politics and deal with issues? That's my appeal to everybody, UPND and my colleagues in the opposition. Can't we go to the Zambian people and say to the Zambian people, what I'm going to do if you elected me is this. And if you believe that this is correct, therefore vote for me. Can't we do that without saying HH is mad? Without saying that given Wynter should not be the president. Surely I can make an argument to the Zambian people without reference to any individual.
So you feel, are these the type of politics most are practicing?
That's what is going on now. That's what is going on now. Look at even our tabloids. Look at listen even to radio programs such as this one. Okay? It's about HH this, and then another UPND official comes, there's nobody, everybody in the opposition is useless. They will not even form government. Those are the, tirades that we exchange.
How would you love to see the Zambia police conduct, themselves as we get to 2026? People, parties will want to have their meetings, they want to have their campaigns. How do you expect? What do you want to see the police? What type of behavior would you want to see from the police? There have been a lot of fingers being pointed at the Zambia police, saying we're very unprofessional. We notify them we want to hold a rally. We are not given the go-ahead. They do advance their reasons. So what's your take on such issues whenever they arise, especially from the opposition?
Look, Hope, one of the problems that we have continued to face since 1990 is to pretend that we are in a democracy when the institutions are still anchored in the culture of a one-party state. Okay? And I think we must deal with this issue. We can't pretend that we are a democracy when the institutions ideally are still trapped in the one-party state culture. And the one-party state culture is the president is omnipotent and is omnipresent. That the president is sacred and he does no wrong. That what the president says must be done, whether it is right or wrong. Okay? And that culture lives in those that are in the civil service. Okay? That everything that goes on, the president must know. Even if it is just to employ a driver. That culture must go. The police service must know that it is a people's police service. But under a one-party state, it wasn't. It was a police service for the state. To do what? To keep Kaunda in power. That's what it was. The army was not a people's army. It was whose army? It was Kaunda's army. It was there to keep Kaunda in power. The United States Army is not to keep Trump in power. The United States FBI is not to keep Trump in power. It is to save the American people. Okay? I hear people saying, oh no, the problem is that the Inspector General of Police is appointed by the president. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is the attitude of the appointing authority and the attitude of the appointed. That's where the problem lies. not in the act of appointment. The problem is in the attitudes. That's one of the major problems that we have. That the president appoints me, and therefore, if I insulted somebody on behalf of the president, that is good. That is my job. That's where the problem is. The police officers are trained. They know what to do. The problem is the attitude. You have heard people in the government, both current and in the past, telling police officers, if you don't toe the line, we shall transfer you from Lusaka to Kaputa, where you can't watch a TV. Okay? Rural areas are being used like Stalin used Siberia to punish. So when you are moving from Lusaka to Kaputa, it's punishment. Is that the reason why you failed to develop the rural areas? So these are attitudes. So what I would like to see.
So do we leave it at attitudes? How do we rectify this then?
They take a bit of time, hope, to rectify, because they're internalized. They become part of us. They're like breathing. What I would like to say, I was going to conclude on this point. What I would like to say is to see a president that says to the police, you are a people's police. Go and save the people. And if you save the people well, then they'll keep me in power.
Well, we do have a president right now. Is this the message you feel he has passed on?
I've heard him making, giving orders. I've heard him several times when he's swearing in the IG, for example. Make sure that people are not kept in police cells. They must be given police bond if the charge is bondable. I said that many times. The police have not done that.
I was about to say that. I mean, we see the opposite happen.
Yes. Even now, I know a couple of people that are in police cells. They've been there for more than a week. The police don't do that. Okay? Depending sometimes on who the complainant is. If the complainant is high profile, they'll keep his worker whom he is accusing of having stolen money from his house for more than a week. Okay? Now, this has nothing to do with the law. These are attitudes. These are attitudes. And unless you come to accept that hope, unless you come to accept that, it will be difficult to change. For people to think that I'll keep my job by not doing it, as I call it, by either pleasing the president or pleasing the minister or pleasing, my superior, that is how I keep my job. Nothing will change. We'll be going round and round in the same circle. I want to see or to hear one day when the president is going to say, I've fired this one because he did not discharge his duties in the interest of the people. That's what I'm looking forward to. I fired this one because he failed to discharge his responsibilities in the interest of the people. Then he will be sending the correct message.
Okay, we will be getting to the phone lines shortly, but before we do that, I need to throw this in. Do you believe Zambia needs constitutional reforms before the 2026 elections?
No, I've said that. We don't need Bill what?
Seven.
We don't need it. Again, this is the argument. The argument is that every government that comes into power thinks that the problem with this country is the constitution. That's not true. Okay? When the Constituent Assembly in India was debating the Constitution of India in 1946, up to 1949. You know what one of the delegates said? This is what he said. He said that here where we are seated, where we are gathered, we are formulating the constitution. But the text of the constitution will not be the problem. Because even if we came up with a bad constitution, if the men and women that are going to constitute the government of India are good men and women, they are good people, they can still enforce, they can still implement or observe a bad constitution in the interest of the Indian people. That's what he said. Okay? You can bring the American Constitution to Zambia today, the one which was formulated in 1787, and think that that is the best. We are told the constitution that will stand the test of time. Bring it to Zambia today. If we have the same men and women with the attitudes I'm talking about, that constitution will look useless. So, Bill 7 should not be a priority for UPND. The priority for UPND for now should be the high cost of living. Even if you had the best constitution, assuming that they can give us the best constitution between now and 2026, that's not what is going to change their fortunes. What is going to change the fortunes of the UPND is delivering on the grievances of the high cost of living. That's my view.
We did hear sentiments the other week from Speaker of the National Assembly, Nelly Muti, stating that chiefs have expressed interest in Bill 7 and would like to see it back in Parliament. Your reaction to her sentiments?
You know, this issue of patronizing one another is what is killing this country. This issue of patronage. The same language the chiefs were using it to ECL, the same language they are using it to HH today. You are a very good man. We have seen development under you. You should just continue. You know, Zambia is better, you know, with you. Same language. Like they are members of a choir. Okay? So, if there are people that are saying that, it's purely out of patronage. If somebody else came tomorrow and asked them, you know, they'll say, oh, yeah, but you know, oh, it's just as well that Bill 7 didn't pass. You know? Attitudes. That is the problem that I see myself. I've served in government. I've served in the local government service for 15 years. And I've been conscious of this aspect of how attitudes kill and bring down those that are in power. Because the people think that they are doing the right thing on their behalf, and yet they are incensing the people. They are stoking discontent in the minds of the people. And before you know it, the people would have risen against you. Okay? So the fact that the chiefs have said it does not make it right. How many chiefs do we have in Zambia? Even assuming that all of them said it. They're not the majority. So what's so fundamental about the speaker saying that the chiefs want it? They're not the only group of stakeholders. So this patronage must come to an end. Let's deal with the issues objectively. Let's be serious as a nation about national issues. And what is going to happen when we are serious, we are going to say certain things that may not please another person, as long as that is true. I sit back myself, you know, Hope, and I watch the TV, and I see the president meeting this group, you know, same language. You know? And yet you look at the ECL and HH, two different people. So how can they both be right? How can you approach them as if both of them are of the same character? Surely they must be different. And they are different. Patronage. And patronage is part of the one-party state. We come with it under the one-party state. I remember one day I was almost fired in the council because as a young lawyer I was naive, and I said in one meeting that what the president says in this country is not law. That's the terror. Because I was just coming from the university with some mind of what we thought was academic freedom at the university. And I said it. We were discussing, so I said, no, this is what the law says. And Mr. Chairman, what you are saying that the president said in this country is not law. I was almost fired. I should have said what the president has said is law. But it was not true. What Kaunda said was not law. And my job was to advise the committee on the law. So that's the problem, my sister, about our country.
All right, we will now get to the phone lines. If you have any question or contribution to make, you can give us a call. The number to dial is 0974 870-877.
You're listening to the Hot Seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
All right, give us a call. It's 0974 870-877. Hello, good morning.
Bwana makapanzi
Bwana mlibwanji ba ndani zina?
ngine katika mkanisa ngine.
Okay. All right, your contribution.
Makapanzi wa Wynter Kabimba.
Sindile nani
Ni ba Wynter Kabimba.
Wynter Kabimba makapanzi.
Bwino bwanji man.
Bwino mda. Unakwambia kwanga mda. Okay, nimekukonda. Nimekamba kirunga bwino bati. Kona kwa nda sentimani vuta. Muziba as long as economic no to kwambia. As long as iste. Mugana vita UPND. Tikutima kamba ati bonse bakawara bapiye bwana babo simunkara kibangumangiwa. Nangavao kusomuza bana vao bezi bari bwino. Timozi panyingo tungavana kwamba tibako wewe ndio sopanga mirandu. Baba nepa ndio panga temirandu. Ndara kama kamba chirunga muko tikangana iruko bafuna leta yo vote ayibana kamba benezaro seromesu ku VCZ. Mwaviona vote ma problem that wezo kukamba kuti yazunga zambo kamba mukati na democracy kiripe democracy zoma chicha vita ke bintra ore mndara josen makamba bwini batana kupempani bwizana ni tesikana kuri bantu osikana kuri ba mimbo sia na chara but ingaweza kuti zakasira bwanje bana kusogoro country yatu ya Zambia ona vita bintra but bintra naita kufa naita kufa ona ni mwasungira bintra vose basipangira bao vose basitira tutani pandira bwino fandi country yao.
Okay, basi peso.
Tenda kubazunguni sote ba ofu pangono te. Tenda kubazunguni sote ba. Dima support tinde pa ni kujia tena bezi. Manje tinde ni mapengo. Njalo makamba bwino ziko mkambi na kwa kambi.
Okay, koma basi peso. All right, let's just take in another one and then I'll allow you to respond. 0974 870-877 is Tuesday's edition of the Hot Seat, and our guest this morning is Economic Fund President Wynter Kabimba. So if you have any question or contribution, you can give us a call on that line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, madam.
Good morning, thanks. Your name?
Saden Sakala here in South.
All right, Saden Sakala, you can go on with your contribution.
Yes, good morning, President Kabimba.
Good morning, thank you.
Yes. You are speaking well, sir. Yeah, but what I've seen is you are very, very straight and you want to be so honest. But if you have seen the politics in Zambia, people thrive through lying or through lies to deal with the attitude of civil servants. For example, you talked about the president appointing the Inspector General of Police. So now you go to a police station, you don't find the Inspector General of Police there. Now, how are you going to change the attitude of all civil servants? How are you going to ensure that they work with a positive action? Thank you.
All
right, thank you so much, Mr. Sakala there. Right, you can respond to those two.
Yeah, I think what Saden Sakala is saying is an important question. I don't know if I can repeat myself. okay, that leadership is about a man who believed in a South Africa for both white and black people. If Nelson Mandela had not been a thinker, a child who was not vengeful, and if he did not appoint published as a political party to 1994, would have come to nothing. So leadership is important. The men and women that we put in leadership, and somebody is saying, you know, the problem is that politics is about lying. I will not lie myself in order to go to State House. I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you what I think. Okay? Because I've said, lies have short legs. So if the first week when I was there, very miserable looking. So I tried to find out why. And I was told that, everybody here thinks that because we are close to SATA, all the people that were MMD supporters will be fired as Minister of Justice. I will not be here forever, working here. And that none of you will be victimized. Support MMD. That is your constitutional right. As long as you deliver. Come on. What I want myself is deliver.
Eight 877. Hello, good morning.
Council. Council.
Kabotu. Mwapo kabuti.
Munyama.
Darumba.
Kamuboba tuhite.
Uraboba mujende.
Uraboba ndamuha uraboba. Council, I have got a question.
Ask your question.
Council, you were PFSG. And according to the positions, you were the number 3. But the community council today, I have never heard you have been called to ACC or a Kudek to nothing about the back. What the council security report? What did you do best? Because you have never not on Kamumbuyo, kuchoka pa munjira ma SGN ngo yanalemera government number kutumbuka pesa na project 150 tasani makaka zivanga. So can you tell us wala lebo so that if wametiko Kamumbuyo na ife tisaka ziteze mavuto kai jione kama mene bambili na mapolitiki sikuti bagaje bwina na bana bao. Otherwise it will continue speaking for the vulnerable. Gama ambila mudara wa musiza ata umani inkambenda kubona kutia sena ebo hawa unjia. Karumba mnyama.
All right, thank you, Wamusanja there. All right, let's just pick up another one, 0974-870-877. Hello, good morning, you're through to the hot seats. Make sure you don't have us on speaker. Get the phone off speaker. Just use the mouthpiece when you call in. 0974-870-877. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, thanks. Your name?
This is Tapi calling from Lusaka.
All right, Tapi, go on with your question or contribution.
Good morning, President Wynter Kabimba.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
First of all, let me say my father is also a big fan of you, a supporter of you.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Say hello to you.
Okay. Yeah, can I just go straight to my question?
Go on.
I've heard you being very objective, and I respect the fact that your politics are very mature, sound politics, which are not trying to divide the country. I'm not a UPND supporter, but I'm the president supporter on his policies. My question to you, Mr. President, Mr. Kawembi, have you ever thought of going into an alliance to advise the president in terms of the economic situations that you are just explaining? Because I know you are better off criticizing from inside than from the outside. That way, if you are able to give your checks and balances, the president can give you a listening ear. So my question once again is, have you ever thought of joining the president in an alliance, or not you joining the political party, but coming close to him to advise him based on the way you've been explaining on this show? Thank you. Have a good morning.
All right, thank you, Tapi. Right, I believe that's a very good question there. We can start with that. Possibilities of an alliance?
Look, firstly, I believe that when I come to a program like this, I'm actually addressing the president. The president has a system which gathers information for him. And if he doesn't do that, I think they are being unfair to the president. Secondly, when I actually think that I have something serious, very, very serious, to discuss with the president, HH has never said he can't see me.
Maybe let me make it okay, easy for you. Yes or no? Would you join hands?
Yes or no means what?
Would you, or would I think you can just give us a straight yes or a no.
I'm already telling you that if the president can give me access to his office,
that's a yes.
That is a yes. I'm joining hands with him.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm joining hands with him. If I can come here and say to him, I think what you need to do, you believe in these small-scale miners, they must get licenses, but go beyond this, president, and think about how to capitalize their businesses. I'm joining hands with the president. I don't have to be seen sitting next to the president. I don't have to be seen at the State House every day. No. He's running a country. I've also got a family to run and a law firm to run. So I'm joining hands, otherwise I've not come here, to simply talk about EF. I've come here to talk about the country. That's why I'm here, Hope.
I mean, let's have a conversation about other alliances as well. I mean, we're getting to 2026.
Let me answer Munsanje
before we get to that. Sure.
Okay, Munsanje says, what is your secret? My secret is just personal discipline. I was raised by a father who is 89 years now, and is luckily still alive, who told me, don't take what is not yours. And I've lived by that. Don't take what is not yours. If it is not yours, it's not yours. So don't take it. Don't appropriate it to yourself. That has been my secret.
What do you make of the fight against corruption under this administration?
I think I support HH 100% on the fight against corruption. Okay? And in my view, the fight against corruption does not only mean the fight against those who are corrupt in PF. It means even those that are corrupt in his administration.
So for those that feel that's the picture that has been painted right now with the fight against corruption, they all seem to go for, what happened in the past. Are we dealing with the current corruption?
Well, I'm sure there have been cases about current corruption that have been dealt with. So when you hear that argument, it's about scale. There was rampant corruption in PF. I was there myself, so I can tell you. I'm not talking about something subjective. I was there myself, and there was corruption, systemic, in PF.
But is it easy for you to say now, since you are not in it? I mean, is it ever that easy to point out when you are working with them?
Now that I'm not in it, I go by what is in court, in the courts of law. But it was there during Saturday's time, and I raised my voice over it, my concern over it, and I think it got compounded under ECL. So I knew myself that it would come to this. I knew myself that some people in PF, if PF lost power, would end up getting arrested. And I was not wrong.
So you're not seeing the same under this administration? If you say you saw it then, are you seeing the same?
I saw it then because I was an insider. And I raised the red flag inside the PF. And I had evidence. And sometimes I remember one day, I was with Michael Sata in the office when he phoned one of his ministers. ACC has written a letter to me to investigate you, and I'm giving them a go-ahead. I was with the president. So I was an insider. I'm not an insider now. But I can tell you that if I came across a factual situation, I'll raise the red flag.
Okay.
I'll tell HH, this man of yours or woman of yours is corrupt.
All right, let's take in the last set of calls. Our guest this morning is Economic Front President Wynter Kabimba. 0974-870-877. That is 0974-870-877. Hello, good morning. Good morning. You're to the hot seat.
Correct. Good morning, Mr. Wynter Kabimba.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. You are talking to one Mutombo's compound representing, calling from within the CBD. A wonderful congratulations to Mr. Kabimba. I must say that, as you know, you and I are friends, and I like you, and you like me too. Yeah, that's the fact. Now, coming to the nitty-gritty, from Wynter Kabimba, you alluded to the fact that issues of superstition were done way back in the 16th century. Now, my question is this. Don't you think even some of the laws that we are, even today, were done in the 14th century, like the seditious law? If I go to my history, you find that the seditious law, is it the law of sedition, was done by King Henry the Seventh in 1430. Do you think it is right, as Africa of today, to cling on to laws that were done then, especially that in Britain where it was done, they have repealed it? Then the other question comes to Wynter Kabimba. Does it mean that if someone dies, the ex-president dies, who are his benefits forfeited? Does it mean when they die also, even the issue of national burial, which is supposed to be a benefit, should also be, withdrawn to use the right English. Thank you very much, Asab. And bamboo.
All right, thank you.
make sense here.
All right, thank you, Richard. Let's allow him to respond.
Okay, I think Richard raises fundamental questions. Let me deal with the first one. When am I going to take off my gloves and start imparting this knowledge to the young people? President Rupia Banda was invited, to go and give, one of the weaknesses I have, and I think it's a weakness, hope, is that I believe so much in this country. I believe so much in the people of this country. I do not seek validation from anybody outside Zambia. I would not want to be pampered by anybody who is not Zambian and think that they are the ones that are making me what I am. So, for those that would like me to impart this knowledge, they can see me personally. I'm in the process of registering, like me to go and speak to them and offload my experience. National, otherwise. I'm readily available. On the issue of corruption, people will go president, and a noble one, in my view. So if anybody in the UPND thinks that this is just happening to PF, it's a great pity. Because it will come around, to them. On the issues of ZAMSA, the Financial Intelligence Center report, auditor generals, reports, these are matters that the president should be dealing with and paying close attention to this. That's a general, wrong or right. So the president must take interest in these matters and show the public that what he is doing against the former members of PF, or what is happening to former members of PF, he will not allow it in UPND, even if it is done by his own people. That message must come from him and nobody else.
All right, well, we have to close now, but I need to throw this in. Do you feel we have a strong opposition to NC?
And therefore, they have to vote and choose. That's what I know as a fact. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else? I'm not sure. Strong opposition or weak opposition? I'm not sure. But I know there will be an election. And nobody will go go and oppose.
But obviously you can read the environment. I mean, you have been in this space for a long time to understand if we do have a strong opposition in this country right now.
But no, the words strong, weak, are subjective. Depends on what somebody means. They are subjective, very subjective concepts. The point I'm making is that there will be nobody who will go unopposed. And if that be the case, there will be an election and people will be choosing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have to end now. Thank you so much for coming through this morning. It's been great having you on the show.
For a nice interview.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
All right, so that's it for Tuesday's edition of The Hot Seat. And our guest this morning was Economic Front President Wynter Kabimba. You will catch my colleague Peter Zulu on Thursday for Thursday's edition of The Hot Seat. Have a great day.
That was The Hot Seat. Don't forget to join next week at the same time, exclusive to Hot 87.7.
Planning a party? Well, look no further than Jolly Kids Events and Decor.